I do wear a number of hats, and one of them, just to complete that story over there about Carno Wind Farm, which is owned by the local farmers at Carno who own the mountains there. They built Carno 1 and then Carno 2, and the proposal is for Carno 3 to expand the area. And they put a significant amount of money into a not-for-profit called Windfall. It's not its real name, it's the Mid Wales Community Energy Trust, known as Windfall. And I'm one of the voluntary directors on the board that manages that fund, and it's at a bigger scale than the local community energy fund. Still not huge, but has given grants of up to £30,000 at a time to a variety of sustainable projects, not all in energy, but mostly to do with energy generation. So village halls wanting solar on their roofs, but through to other things, active travel and other things. So it's another example of how benefits can be spread. But I've been asked to speak specifically about Energy Local, and I am the company secretary of another co-op. Energy Local Macedleth is a co-op established to bring together local generation of renewable electricity with local consumption of electricity in an innovative way which allows both parties, if you like, the consumers and the generators, to benefit financially, and in doing so to bring about a wider community benefit. Yes, please, James. So, rather than say how we do that to start with, a bit more about why bother with this model, what's it for, what's the problem behind it. And part of that is financial, but not all of it. So from the generator's point of view, where there might be BDCL with their new solar array, or a farmer who's got a wind turbine on their farm, they can use a certain amount of electricity on the farm if they've configured the electrical system to allow that. But otherwise, what they're selling is sold to some of the big companies that we know and sometimes love elsewhere. Whereas their neighbours are buying electricity, perhaps from the same company, same supplier, as that will often be, but at probably over twice the price. And so somebody else is making all the money or doing something else with the money, or it's partly the expense of getting it from one place to another as well. There is infrastructure cost in that. And equally, domestic customers who have got the idea that actually you can't just turn the switch on and expect it to not have any effect on the environment or your finances or indeed the infrastructure which moves electricity around, so we can loosely call the grid, may be choosing already to match the time when they use their washing machines, we use our washing machines or whatever it may be, match that to a time when actually power is most available, not at the scarce times. So the scarce times, the pressure points on the system are obviously tea time, 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock typically, especially in the winter. And there are precious few mechanisms to reward that behaviour positively through financial means currently. Also the way, I've indicated already, the present system we have, the mainstream system, reduces the amount of income that stays in the local economy. So it's a typical leaky bucket of the economy, and the money is leaking out to those who've generally made an investment elsewhere. And as a result of that, proposals for a new scale, small scale, especially the smaller scale renewables, which might be the farmer who wants to put in a hydro, they find it more difficult to stack up financially, because the income stream is not as great as it, you could say it should be, could be. So therefore sometimes they don't get built. James? Oh, right, so I'm tonight representing Energy Local Macedleth, which is the local club. There are a number of such clubs across the UK, most of them in Wales, but by no means all. Is it most? Maybe about half. We're supported by Energy Local, which is a CIC, so it's their idea. They're especially somebody called Mary Gilly, who's an ex-systems engineer for utilities and the grid, so she knows all about the techie stuff. And so they support the clubs, and it aims to help thousands of communities, it ambitiously says, get more value from renewable generation by using this kind of a model. It's still a very small-scale, innovative beyond pilot because there are several dozen of these clubs, but it's still yet young and relatively small if you consider the system as a whole and consumption as a whole. But they're ambitious. So here are the sort of the hopeful benefits: to reduce the cost of electricity to members of the clubs, to give the local renewables a fair price, as I've already said, make them more viable, keep the financial benefit local, and I've kind of indicated this, hinted at it, the system itself is not exactly creaking, but especially in Mid Wales, well, it is creaking. Reduce the need for expensive reinforcements of the local grid, which would otherwise be required and to cope with, especially as we electrify our homes for heating and transport, especially we need more electricity, that means more grid to move it around. And so if we can shift the timing of our demand a bit away from those difficult times, then we reduce the need to have so much infrastructure, which is expensive, and we all end up paying our bills anyway. So, I'll try not to labour this too much, and maybe to a certain extent we don't all need to know how the Energy Club works, but let's have a go. So here's the co-op, and one or possibly more than one member of each club, each co-op, is the local generator or generators. Now there are some constraints currently with the way these have to be set up. Ofgem is the regulatory body, and they have to look after clearly the safety and the economics and various other aspects of the overall distribution system. And it's pretty tight what they allow and what they don't allow, and I'll come back to that a bit later. For this model to work, the generator and the consumers, the local consumers, have to be geographically close enough that they're connected to the same bit of the distribution system, the grid. So the same supply point. And, at least currently, have to be connected to it at the same voltage. I don't think we need to labour the different voltage hierarchy of how the whole system works, from micro to low voltage, so that's what we're connected in our houses, through to the big pylons, which are very high transmission voltages, and then other layers in between. So for this, currently, to get permission to work, we have to be connected to the same level in that hierarchy. And that's a constraint. I'll come back to the geographic constraint in another slide about where is Machynlleth Club able to work. So we've got the co-op, we've got both parties, if you like, in it, the local consumers who sign up, one or more generators. Members have to agree, so this is the consumer members and the generator members agree as a co-op. The price that the consumers pay for the local generation when it is available. That's called the match price, because it's the times when the local consumption is matching, or at least partially matching, the local generation. And the match price is basically in the middle between the rather low price that the generator is offered by the big suppliers, the high price which we normally have to pay to import, and it's more or less in the middle, not by accident. So the consumers get cheaper electricity, the generators receive more income as a result of this. But that's not quite sufficient to make it work, because you no doubt have noticed there are times, in our case we've got a hydro, our generator is hydro, there are times when it's dry, even here, and the hydro ain't working. So at those times, or perhaps when everybody is consuming a lot and there's only a bit of hydro, we need some from elsewhere. So that's provided by a registered supplier with an uppercase S. So they're a licensed supplier. I'm jumping ahead here. I wrote this slide. Currently 100 Green is as of 1st of April. Currently, actually, it's Octopus Energy. And this is an exciting time for various reasons, and I'll allude to that in a moment. So we're switching from Octopus to 100 Green. You needn't worry about that particularly.
I'm very excited about it.
For this purpose of this slide, they're a supplier. Yeah. So you can think of it as a triangle. We've got the generator here as Reese with his hydro over by panel. We've got me and my household using some of that, and then we're both connected actually to the third part of the triangle. Me, because sometimes I need a bit of electricity there, And Reece also connected because sometimes he's got too much and I'm not using enough, so he sells it to them. That's the model. And one of the good things about it is it empowers, to a certain extent, all its members. If they choose to bother, they can get quite a lot of information about what's going on in the system, and may then change their behaviour.
Yeah.
You can actually look on the dashboard. You've got a web interface called the dashboard. A lot of detail there about the current situation, how much is being produced, how much club members are using. All the history is there as well, except when the system was broken down and the data flow was interrupted. But in principle, a lot of history and a little bit of prediction even. So say you don't. I mean, obviously with Hydro you can say, oh, it's been raining cats and dogs today, so I'm all right to put the washing machine on. And you, intuitively you can know that, but you can quantify it a little bit using this dashboard. And each member has a place on this website, energylocal.org.uk, which is effectively their account with Energy Local CIC. It holds their basic information, and they can edit that as well. Here is an FAQ section on energylocal.org.uk. There's lots of good stuff on there, so I should just say, go on the website, you don't need me. Next one, please, James. Well, I'm not going to explain this, just gives you an idea that there's lots of stuff on the energy dashboard. Next one as well.
Next one, that's the first thing I look at in the morning.
Yeah.
On my phone, is that little graph.
The map full up, isn't it? Because I was trying to do it.
I'll come to that in a moment. Yes.
Next one.
So it's good to have some dashboard addicts in the house. Other members go, whoa, too much for me, I'm not going to go there. I'll just turn the switch on and assume that you know what
Oh
we're up to. Next one, please, James.
Next one. Right, okay.
I just wanted to give you a flavour of... Right, so where are we? Here we are. This is a very old slide. You may notice, James, I took out the Ecodory logo from the top left-hand corner on these slides.
Yes.
Right, so... James is...
James is out. Everyone's like...
Okay, so here's my Machenleth. And it just so happens that the way the distribution system works means that the club, it can come across here to Penal, it can go north to Corosichav and Aberchaveni, and down to sort of more or less Trelol, Taliesin boundary, and a little bit of the hinterland here from Cadwach, Aberhossan. But you try going towards Newtown and you run into another area very soon. So even Penegois is not in the club area. So that's a constraint. I'm thinking about, okay, what else might one do in the area? It's always been our ambition, it was our ambition anyway, to set up more clubs. This was only meant to be the first. So there's a big one here with loads of hydro already in it, just ready to go. And in fact, there's a 7Y Energy have been anyway running a project in the Cwmllinau area based around the village hall there, trying to see how communities might engage more with energy in that area. And then a new energy local club is one of the ideas they're exploring, or at least have been. I'm sure it's getting on. Yes, that's enough of that one, I think. There we are. So, without any slides, there's a few more things to say about why it's an exciting time and why Kim can't join. I didn't know you'd not been able to join. You should have mentioned. Is this recent?
Well, I tried to join and they said they were full up.
Right. Oh, I wonder who they were. Okay, anyway. Typically, we, under Octopus's constraints, if you like, there are several things we hope will improve under the one hand Green arrangement. And one of them is to get bigger and allow more people in. Octopus have allowed a few more extra people, just a few to come in every sort of April, May, June, and that's a bit of a process that's been going on. But you could probably figure out that in order to make this thing work well for everybody, you can't have only a bit of generation and then hundreds and hundreds of consumers, because they never get a decent shout at the local generation, and vice versa. There's got to be a balance between the generation and the consumption of some sort. And so some modelling is done. In our case, okay, we know we've got a hydro of such, we're expecting roughly this much generation during the year. That will support Y numbers of members. And Octopus, unfortunately, eventually found it all a bit of a headache and said, I know we originally thought that we could expand and have more than one generator, but actually we can't cut only one generator per club. So that was disappointing. Secondly, only householders have been, only domestic meters have been allowed by Octopus. And we hope, again, very strongly that 100 Green will relax that as well. So once it's settled down, after the 1st of April, for I don't know how long, a couple of months, we hope to then be able to recruit not only more domestic customers, but also non-domestic customers. And we've told ourselves that probably we'll prioritise social enterprises and community enterprises of village halls, even though they don't need much actually, but still it could be good for them. And particularly community-owned pub in a restaurant in Penal, for example. And allowing more generators, which is not just good for the generators, but also very good for the consumer members, because talked about it running dry, the supply running dry. Well, obviously we need some solar to complement that. So we've got heavy winter generation and heavy summer generation. Makes much more sense. And I think we know quite a few solar panels wanted to join that system, for example, up on the hill. So just at the moment, every current member is having to say by Friday, ideally, if they want to make this switch and stay into the new conditions with the new supply. And then hopefully we'll go from there. Just in finishing, I mean, this is a very specific model that's been worked out by Mary Gilly and her crew, but it is only, in principle, only one example of a local energy trading system, a local system, and other systems are available, although there aren't many of them. Llanidloes is getting into this now in a slightly different way. They have just formed an energy local club, but they haven't got live with that yet. But they are being supported, or the work is being done by something called the Centre for Energy Equity, and they have a slightly different model and vision of how this local trading could be done, which I think will end up being more ambitious. So there are more opportunities to trade between generation and consumers, including, and energy local members can do this, of course, any consumers who happen to have solar on their roof, or maybe a hydro in their back garden, seems unlikely, can actually participate in both ways, as a generator and a consumer. And that should be easy to get under 100 Enough?